Hi, I'm Theresa and welcome to my channel and welcome to the 14th episode of my series Sapphic Reads. If you're not already familiar with this is a series where I recommend to you 5 sapphic books that I have read and loved recently. As always, I'll have the playlist for this series linked down below if you want any more sapphic book recommendations. I definitely recommend giving it a watch. And before we get started, I just wanted to very quickly give a definition of the word sapphic because I know that I use it a lot in videos and I've not actually given it a definition on my channel since I started using it a couple of years ago. So sapphic refers to women or non-binary people who usually have some kind of connection to womanhood who are attracted to women. So this includes lesbians, bi people, pansexual people, etc. And it's just a term like WLW you might have seen, and it's just a bit more inclusive because it includes non-binary people. It's easier to say. Ta-da! That's what it means. If you're interested, the masculine equivalent is Achillean, and yeah, that is what sapphic means. So the first book I want to talk to you about today is The Dark Tide by Alicia Jasinka. This is a standalone YA fantasy following Lena. And Lena lives on this island city where every year the witch who kind of rules over the city takes a boy as sacrifice to keep the island city from sinking. And this year Lena is terrified that her brother is going to be chosen, and so she works with Thomas, the boy who she secretly loves and who last year escaped the witch's clutches instead of being sacrificed. And everything doesn't go very well, and it ends up with Thomas catching the witch's attention and being chosen again as the sacrifice. And so because Lena loves him, she offers herself in his place. But as Lena and the witch Eva wait out time together for the sacrifice, they begin to grow feelings for each other, and they have to choose between saving themselves, each other, or the sinking island city. And this is just such a lovely book. I read Alicia Jasinka's newer book, The Midnight Girls, and I mentioned it in my last Sapphic Reads video if you want to know more about it. And so I immediately had to pick up this one, her debut, and I really enjoyed it. Again, you've got this most gorgeous writing style. I really adored it. And I loved just the world building, the witchiness, this kind of complications that Eva and Lena face as they have to choose between themselves and each other and the greater good. And Eva being quite morally grey because she is the wicked witch overseeing the city, and she's really dealing with some things because she lost her sister and she's now ascended to become the leading witch, and she doesn't really know what she's doing, and she's determined to do everything right to save the city. She knows she's in an impossible circumstance and she's determined to be ruthless to do so. And that is something I loved about The Midnight Girls as well, is just having these morally great kind of villainous women. I love it, it's so fun. I just had such a grand time reading this. I also love that Lena is bisexual, and seeing her have feelings for both a boy and a girl, and just I loved it. It was so fun. I think I preferred The Midnight Girls, but like it's close. I just really enjoyed The Dark Tide. It's a perfect witchy, spooky kind of book. Definitely recommend it. Next up is The Bone Spindle by Leslie Vedder. This is a YA fantasy, the first and I believe a duology, and the next book comes out February next year. And this is like Indiana Jones meets Sleeping Beauty. That's the best way I can pitch it, and that's how it was pitched to me, and I needed to read it immediately because that is just such a good pitch, and it definitely lives up to it. So this book follows Fee and Shane, two girl treasure hunters who don't really know each other at the beginning, but when one of them gets a new map, they know that the other will be the perfect companion to help them find everything. Fee is very bookish, she's interested in the lost knowledge and history of the kingdom she explores, while Shane is in it for the glory. And the two set off on this quest. They find the treasure, but everything goes wrong when Fee pricks her finger on the bone spindle, and suddenly Briar Rose, Sleeping Beauty himself, is following her around in this kind of almost ghost form, and she is now destined to be the one to break his curse and to free the lost kingdom of Andar. And it's just a lovely action-packed treasure hunty kind of book. You know, you're seeing where I get the Indiana Jones vibe, but it's also a gender-bent Sleeping Beauty retelling. It had me hooked, and that was exactly what I picked it up for, and it did not disappoint. I just loved everything that happened in this book, and also the world building, learning more about this lost kingdom of Andor, the magic system, the history. It was so interesting, and having Fee as a main character who is also finding this very interesting was just fun, because you got to learn about it all from her perspective. And I also really enjoyed, I think the most in this book is the friendship between Fee and Shane. You know, they don't start off as friends, but they go through a lot together, and they have this lovely friendship that blooms between them. But obviously this is a sapphic book recommendations video, so I want to talk about Shane, our favourite axe-wielding lesbian. And she has a bit of a hidden past, which is really interesting to read about, and I'm excited to see that hopefully explored more in book 2. And she has a love interest, this mysterious woman who they keep coming across in their journey, who seems to know more than she's saying, and Shane is very instantly attracted to. She's called Red because she's always wearing red. And I just really liked watching this relationship, or this kind of banter between them, and obviously some feelings developing. And it was just a really good fun time. I really enjoyed this book. I'm really excited for the sequel. The next book I want to talk about is Home Field Advantage by Dahlia Adler. This is a sweet, fun, light-hearted YA contemporary novel. In this book you follow Amber and Jack. Amber is a cheerleader on her high school's team, and she's gunning for the role of head cheerleader in her final year. And you also follow Jack, who arrives to the school as a new quarterback to replace the boy that previously died the year before. But all hell breaks loose when everyone discovers that Jack is actually short for Jacqueline and that she's a girl. And the cheerleaders are working against her, the football team won't cooperate with her, all because she's a girl and because she's actually better than the boy that was there before. And this puts Amber in a tough spot because she needs to get along with her team to have them want her to be captain next year. But at the same time, she has growing feelings for Jack. And this book manages to remain very light-hearted and romance-y overall, while also dealing with the misogyny and the homophobia that can be found in these spaces, in sports, in high schools and such. And it was just a really good read. So you follow both girls' perspectives, and I really enjoyed reading from them both, and I really just enjoyed watching their romance blossom. It was just so sweet. And something I find quite interesting about this book is that usually when I read sports books, it's for the team dynamic. That's what gets me, that's what I love. I love this almost found family feel. But in both instances, both girls feel separate from their team. You know, Jack is being pushed out, you know, no one wants a girl quarterback. But Amber is struggling because she knows that what's happening to Jack isn't right, but that's what the team is going for, and that's what she feels she has to do to fit in with them, to get to what she wants as cheer captain. And she's also struggling with some homophobia on the team as she has not come out. And I just enjoyed these different dynamics. I thought that it was done very well, and I just really enjoyed reading this book. Definitely recommend it if you want something lighthearted, fun and sweet, but also takes a look at some more deeper issues. Next up is I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McKiston. This was my most anticipated release of the year, and I am happy to say that it very much lived up to the hype, so let me try and convince you to read it. This follows Chloe Green, who is competing with Shara Wheeler, the kind of it girl, popular girl at her school, to become valedictorian at the end of their senior year. But when Shara kisses her suddenly and then disappears on prom night, Chloe is incensed. She doesn't know what Shara's playing at, and she doesn't want to win by default just because Shara disappeared. So she sets off to track Shara down. And it turns out that Chloe wasn't the only one that Shara kissed before she disappeared, and that the bad boy of the school, Shara's next door neighbour, who's always had a bit of a thing for her, is also trying to hunt her down. And Shara has left him, Chloe and her boyfriend clues to figure out where she's gone and to track her down. And what I really loved about this book was actually a friendship that grows between Chloe, Smith and Rory, who are the two boys that are helping Chloe look for Shara. And it was so fun to read. There were some moments reading it where I was like, oh my god, I want to be friends with them, because it's just the greatest. And there's some moments, I love it. And Chloe also has her own friend group as well, who I also loved. And there's just amazing friendship, amazing characters, which is Casey's style, is what they do so well. Humor, writing style, perfect. And the romance in the main romance in the book is not the main part of the book. It is definitely contemporary rather than a romance. But I also really enjoyed the romance. I thought it was very, very well developed. And I just really loved the exploration of like different ways of being queer, because this book is set in the Bible Belt. And although Chloe used to live in California and has been out since she was quite a young teenager, she is navigating a very different society here than what she was used to there. And she's also meeting queer people from here who have very different perspectives on what it means to be queer and what it means to be out. And I just really enjoyed reading this and getting these different perspectives and just these different ways of being queer and what queerness can mean to people. And yeah, we also had the big queer moment at the end, which is what I love in Casey's books, the big thing where everything comes together and it's just queer joy. Like, that's a very consistent theme in Casey's books and I just really love it. And yes, I just had the absolute best time reading this. I definitely recommend you pick it up. The final book I want to talk about is Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May. This is a standalone adult historical fantasy. This takes place after World War I, where instead of alcohol being outlawed, it is magic. And it's a Gatsby retelling, and you follow Annie, who has arrived on the mysterious Crow Island, where it's whispered that magic is real and people are practicing it. And she's not interested in that. She's there to settle her father's estate and to hopefully reconnect with her childhood best friend Beatrice, who moved there away from their dreary lives. But Annie is very quickly caught up in the ways of the island and her enigmatic new neighbour Emmeline, who we find out is like the main witch of Crow Island and who throws all these lovely extravagant parties. And there's some shared history between Emmeline and Bea, and Annie can't quite figure it out, but she's roped into this world and into Emmeline and so attracted to her, and she feels almost pulled to her, and she gets completely wrapped in this decadent society. And this was just such a lovely book. Like, the writing style is so gorgeous and fits the atmosphere of the book so well. It's like decadent, it's gorgeous, it's got this witchy feel to it. It's so well crafted. I was just in awe. And you follow both Annie and Emmeline's perspectives, so you get kind of inside and outside point of view of the island and all the magic going on, and just obviously the two of them growing feelings for each other. So in this kind of Gatsby comparison, Annie is Nick, Emmeline is Gatsby, and Bea is Daisy. And it's got a Nick and Gatsby type romance, which is fun because that's how it should have been in the original. The original is one of the only classics I enjoy, so I was very, very excited for this book. And yes, I loved it as a Gatsby retelling. It had so much of the symbolism and the character and what's so essential to the Gatsby story, but better. And you know, the plot did diverge from Great Gatsby, so don't go in expecting a true retelling, but it's definitely got, you know, the atmosphere, some of the character setups, but it takes its own direction. And I love the characters. Like in Gatsby, they were all like deeply flawed, and I still love them anyway. They were morally grey at times, like especially Emmeline, and you still rooted for them, you still loved them. I still loved watching this relationship between Emmeline and Annie. And like the way magic was written was just so visceral and engaging, and I just loved it. And what's really impressive about this book to me is that it is quite slow paced, it's a slow burn, and I still enjoyed it when I don't normally enjoy books that are that slow burn because I get bored, but this book just sunk its claws into me and didn't let me go. It was amazing. And yes, that is all of the books I have for you, so I will as always leave a link to them all down below on Goodreads, as well as my reviews where I have them, which I believe is most of them, including a video review of Shara Wheeler, which I definitely recommend you check out if you want more in-depth thoughts on it. I will also leave my social media and such linked down below if you want to keep up with me elsewhere. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Goodreads, all that good stuff, all talking about sapphic books. And yes, if you've enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, a comment. If you've read any of these books, if you want to read any of them, let me know. I'd love to chat about sapphic books with you. I'm always up to chat about sapphic books. And if you enjoyed this and you're not subscribed, then I would really appreciate if you did subscribe. I have lots more content like this already available and also coming up, so you don't want to miss that out. And yes, just thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in another video soon.